Today, we are going to answer the question of when to pay your credit card bill. Although this may seem like a very easy and straightforward answer, it may get a little confusing. That's because there are two key times to use when paying off your credit card bill, and they each have slightly different purposes. To make things easier to understand, I will be doing a simple breakdown of when exactly those dates are, along with an example using one of my credit card statements. And towards the end of the video, I will be going over some frequently asked questions that many people ask. My goal today is to help you understand your credit card statement better, so that way you could use it to your advantage. That means by the end of this video, you will be able to comprehend your statement and it won't just look like a bunch of random numbers. Let me start off with the first key time to pay off your credit card bill, which is after your statement closing date and before your payment due date. Out of the two key times to pay off your credit card bill, this one in particular will apply to every single one of you. To explain what exactly the statement closing date, payment due date, and other terms mean, let's bring up one of my previous credit card statements. Here is a recent statement from my Chase Sapphire Preferred credit card. Since there are many different credit cards and different credit card companies, your statement will not look exactly like mine. But every credit card statement should have these three sections. The first section shows your new balance, minimum payment due, and payment due date. The second section is your account summary, and the third section is your account activity. We will go over all three sections and talk about the important details to take note of, starting with the account summary. Starting at the top, it will have the balance of your last credit card statement along with any payments that you made. For this scenario, I charged $50.08 during my last statement and made a payment of $50.08. That means I did not carry a balance over from my last statement to this current statement. In other words, I paid in full. And when you pay in full, you won't incur any interest, which you could see here. I also didn't have any cash advances, balance transfers, or other fees to pay. But I did use this credit card to make $53.08 worth of payments during this statement. So when you add up this section here, you could see that my final new balance for this credit card is $53.08. If you check the top section of your statement, you could see that same number reflected here. Also, if you move to the account activity section, you could see a breakdown of every purchase that contributed to that new balance. Here I have 4 transactions and they add up to the $53.08 balance that we just went over. You could also see the same $50.08 payment that I made for my previous credit card statement. To finish off the account summary section, let's look at the opening and closing dates of my statement. In this case, my opening date is July 29th and my closing date is August 28th. These dates are important to take note of because whatever transactions I make on my credit card during these two dates will be compiled and added together to make my new statement balance. The opening and closing dates of your credit card statement are also called a billing cycle, and a billing cycle is usually around 30 days long but will vary depending on your credit card issuer. You can think of it as like a shopping cart. And here is my shopping cart that just so happens to look like a trash can. This shopping cart represents one billing cycle. Whatever I buy using this credit card during July 29th and August 28th will be put into this shopping cart. Then when August 29th comes around, a new billing cycle begins and two things happen. First, I need to take my previous billing cycle shopping cart to the register to pay. AKA, my credit card statement will now have a statement balance that I will have to pay. Second, a new billing cycle starts, so I grab a new shopping cart and start putting my transactions into here for the next 30 days or so. This process continues over and over and over again for as long as you have that credit card. That then brings us to the payment due date and the minimum payment due. But first, if you have been enjoying this video so far, please do me a favor and click on that subscribe button down below. For my credit card statement, the payment due date is September 25, which if you notice is about 3 weeks after my statement's closing date. This 3-week period is also known as the grace period. Sometimes it's a pretty mind-boggling concept because you won't don't have to pay for your transactions until about a month after you have already made the purchase. But out of all of these dates, I think the payment due date is one of, if not the most important one. Whatever you do, please make sure to pay before the payment due date. That means I need to pay $53.08 before September 25th if I don't want to pay any interest or any late fees. This is the best case possible. If you miss your payment due date, you'll have to pay a late fee, which is around $30 to $40 along with your new balance amount. You could see this warning here for Chase that states that the late payment is $39. On top of that, your credit score will decrease because you missed or made a late payment. However, I understand that some people might live paycheck to paycheck and aren't able to pay off the entire new balance every month. So what can you do? Fortunately, that's where the minimum payment due comes into play. My minimum payment due for this statement is $35. This means if I pay at least $35, it will count as an on-time payment. By making at least the minimum payment on time, my credit score will not decrease. Your minimum payment amount will vary depending on your credit card issuer and how much your new balance amount is. You typically pay whichever amount is bigger, either $20 to $40 or 1% to 3% of your credit card balance. Keep in mind that if you just pay your minimum payment, you will be carrying the remaining balance over to your next billing cycle. You will also be paying upwards of 25% interest on that remaining balance until you pay it off completely. Chase does give you a warning on their statements here and show you a breakdown of how much you will be paying later on. You will take longer to pay off that balance and you will be paying more because of the interest you accrued. That is why I really want you guys to pay off the entire new balance in full and on time every single month. Do not fall victim to just paying the minimum payment due if you don't absolutely have to. I know it's tempting because it says minimum payment due, but you really should be paying off the entire new balance. The best way to avoid missing a payment is to set up auto pay. Auto pay will automatically pay off your current balance, statement balance, a minimum payment due, or a fixed amount on a selected day before your payment due date. Personally, I set up my auto pay on all of my credit cards to pay off the statement balance a few days before the payment due date. That was the first key time to pay off your credit card bill, which applies to everyone. If you don't want to pay interest or lower your credit score, you pay your credit card bill after the statement closing date and before the payment due date. However, the second key time to pay off your credit card bill will pertain to those who want to increase their credit score. To increase your credit score, you will want to pay off most of your credit card bill before your statement closing date. So in my case, I would want to pay Chase around $50 or so before August 28th. You're probably like, what? Why? Why $50 and why before the statement closing date? You want to pay off your credit card bill before the statement closing date because of something called credit utilization. Every month after your statement closing date, your credit card issuer sends your credit card data to the credit bureaus. The credit bureaus will then use that credit card data to make the necessary adjustments to your credit score. And one of the main factors of your credit score is credit utilization or amounts owed. This is the total amount of credit you are using over the total amount of credit you have available to you. AKA, how much did you charge on your credit cards divided by the total amount of credit lines that you have on those credit cards. For this example, let's go back to my statement and pretend that this is the only credit card that I own. My statement balance is $53.08 and my credit line is $7,100. Therefore, my credit utilization is 0.74%. Which is amazing. In order to raise your credit score, you want an average credit utilization amongst all of your credit cards to be less than 15%. The lower your credit utilization, the better your credit score will be. Okay, so what does this all have to do with the statement closing date? Well, what if the total charges on my credit card was actually $5,000? That is now a high credit utilization of 70%, which will for sure negatively impact my credit score. I don't want that balance amount to be reported to the credit bureaus. So now all I have to do is pay off most of it before my statement's closing date. Therefore, I will make a payment of around $4,000 before August 28th, the statement closing date, which will bring down my balance to just $1,000. Now, if that new balance of $1,000 gets reported to the credit bureaus, I will be in a much better position because that is a credit utilization of just 14%. Essentially, you can control what your credit utilization will be by making these partial payments before your statement closing date. The reason why I don't pay off the entire credit card balance is because I still want something to be reported to the credit bureaus. If I pay off my credit card balance in full before the statement closing date every month, then it will look like I don't use my credit cards because all of them will have a 0% credit utilization. Honestly, some people say it's okay to pay it off entirely, but I just want to be safe because I overthink too much anyway. Another way you can control your credit utilization is to get more credit cards or increase your credit limits on the credit cards that you already have. With both scenarios, you are increasing the total amount of credit available to you. So if you keep your spend the same amount, you will actually have a lower credit utilization because of this. I made a video up there that will go over in great detail on how you can increase the credit limit of your current cards. Now that you know the 2 key times of when to pay off your credit card bill, let's go over some frequently asked questions. This is because there are a bunch of little intricacies regarding your credit card statement, so I don't want to leave any stones or rocks unturned. The first question is, what happens if I overpay my credit card balance? An example of this is if you have a credit card balance of $500 and you accidentally send a payment of $600. You will now have a negative credit card balance of $100. But then as you start paying for things with that same credit card, it will first use up that $100 credit that is already in your account. After $100 worth of purchases, you will now have a positive balance and will look the same as before you overpaid your credit card. Fun fact though is if you have a negative balance on your credit card, you could actually call your credit card issuer or chat with them to have them deposit that negative balance into your bank account. Using the same example, if you have a negative $100 balance, just contact your issuer and have them send that $100 to you. I have done this before with both Chase and Amex, and it's super easy and useful. The next question is, what is the difference between current balance and statement balance? The statement balance is what we went over, which is the amount shown on your monthly billing statement. It represents the purchases, payments, interest, fees, etc. on your card during a set period. Any activity on your credit card within the statement opening and statement closing dates, aka the billing cycle, will be reflected on your statement balance. And once that statement closes, you will be given that final statement balance, which will not fluctuate. On the other hand, your current balance will most likely fluctuate. The current balance is your most recent statement balance plus other transactions since your last statement was closed. If we look at my statement from earlier, the statement balance was $53.08. But what if I bought a $10 coffee on September 10th? My current balance would be $63.08 and my statement balance would still be $53.08. That's because the $10 coffee is made in the next billing cycle and will not affect the previous statement's balance. Should I pay off my credit card after every purchase? No, you probably should not. That is just too much work, especially if you use your credit card every day. The only reason you would want to do this is to lower your credit utilization, but you could just pay it off one time before the statement closing date like we went over earlier. This last question comes up often, which is a scary thought. Is it good to pay off a credit card every month? Or do credit card companies like when you pay in full? Yes, it is fantastic to pay off your credit card every month. You want to pay on time and in full every month to avoid paying interest or lowering your credit score. And credit card companies don't care if you pay in full or not. After all, if you don't pay in full, they will make more money off of you by collecting the interest on your credit card balance. Again, you could check out this video here to learn more about raising your credit lines on the credit cards that you already own. Other than that, thank you guys so much for watching, and also thank you for the 5,000 subscribers, and I'll see you in the next one. Shoots!